Hey there, Rod Bergeron with you here once again, and today we're going to continue our series on pen and ink. And we're going to look at the Nib pen, okay? So this thing comes out of here. I usually use a pair of pliers just to grab onto that to pull it out, because what happens is ink gets built up in that little groove that goes around there, and this thing just simply slides into there. If you see, this is rounded. I hope that shows up on camera, but that's rounded. So that thing just slides into here. And this is somewhat sharp and somewhat pointy, so if you're not careful, you could get poked with it, so you don't want that. So I just grab this with a pair of pliers, push it in a little bit. It doesn't have to go in very far. After a while, it will get jammed in there quite extensively, but you don't want that. So I just grab that and pull that out. So this is the one that I commonly use, and I have a couple of these. This one's fairly new. I don't think it's maybe been used once or twice, but this is the one that I normally use, and I use this one for just about everything. I guess some calligraphy I don't use it for, but I don't do a whole lot of calligraphy anymore. But if you can see how that splits, so that split allows more ink to run out. So the more it splits, the wider, the thicker the line. If you remember before, we've done other videos that show us that. But I wanted to show you today, I have lots of them. So I have this one here, which sort of does the same thing, but it allows the line to be doubled up if you wanted it to be. I don't know if that'll show up on camera, but you can see there's two. There's one that sits on top of the other. I also have this one here is a square line. So this one comes out as a flat line. I'll demonstrate that for you in a second. This one here is sort of the same as this, but it has some of the features of this where it allows you to have a second line. This thing also holds a lot more ink. That's what this thing is actually for. It actually holds a lot more ink. I don't know if you can see in there, but it holds a terrific amount of ink. And this one here, if you can see that, that's a rounded line. That's mostly for calligraphy. So are these two, but I will show them to you. And this one here has a smaller, square point, okay? So why don't we have a look and see what each one of those does. I'll start off with the round one here. Just set that over to the side, and you see how easy that just slides right in there, okay? Dip that in, get some ink on it. You'll see that there's a glob of ink on the end there, and there's no ink on the back side, so I didn't get it in far enough. And there you go, you can see there's some ink on the back side there. So this one you have to hold fairly, the base fairly perpendicular to the paper. And you'll see it has a rounded start and a rounded end. As compared to the regular pen that I use quite often. You'll see the line is very thick. So if you were drawing something that you wanted to fill in a large area, or you're doing some huge area and you needed some big cross hatching, you could use this. See how if you lift up on it, you get that drag mark. So it doesn't always have to be that it's just rounded end. You can drag it along and lift it up and get a little bit of a jagged edge like that on it. So that's helpful. Sometimes, just clean that off real quick. I have a container of water over here at the side, and I have a tissue. I'm just going to clean that one off. Set that down. Okay, let's look at this. So this allows you, again, to hold on to significantly more ink than the other quill that I've showed before. So we'll get some ink on there. Very thin line. And this one does not split. Okay, so there's no split on this. So it's not, you do not have the ability to make this thicker or thinner. It's that thick, that's it. Now I can slow down my rate at which I drag it and make the line a little bit thicker, but it does not split like this one. Okay, so that one's a fairly consistent line. And you know, when you go into the store and you look for pen and ink, you're going to be surprised. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these. So I'm going to put in now this one here that has just a flat, okay, and it has no split on it either. Okay, so this one is going to be pardon me, allergy season. So this one has consistent, no split. All the lines are going to be like that, which is helpful sometimes, especially when you have a large area that you want to block in, a large area that you want to do a whole bunch of cross hatching in or something like that. That's quite helpful. I'll clean that off. It's very important that you keep your pen and ink stuff clean, because once the ink hardens up, it's very, very difficult to get off. Now this is a flat, but it has a split, so you'll see maybe. Can you see where that splits? Okay, so this has a flat, but it splits. So I can make a fairly thick line. The great thing about pen and ink is that I can also, so when I move straight down like this and I allow it to split, I make a thick line, but I can also do this and make a thin line. So that just means I'm not pulling straight down to allow the split. I use this quite often, especially when I'm doing a fairly large area. You'll see it allows you to make a fairly thin line, and clean that off again. Just get it, you know, fairly clean. And then this is the last one that I'll show you today. But this one also has a split, and it's got a very, very tiny point to it. Okay, so put that in here, push that in. And again, this one, but you can make it that thick. Okay, so that's as thin as it is without pressing down on it, but you can make it very thick if you wanted to. The other thing about pen and ink is, so I have that line there and it's fairly wet. Without putting any pressure on it, I can grab that ink and pull out of that line. So dragging that ink out to continue my hatching or my cross hatching, and I can probably do that even more from here. So that's a good trick if you're, you know, trying to fill in a big area too, is lay down a black line and then pull out of that line. Okay? And that's just practice. It's just practice and practice and practice and more practice. Okay, so I hope you picked up a tip or a trick here today. If you're currently a subscriber, thanks a lot. Please leave me a question or a comment in the comment section below. If you're not currently a subscriber, please consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks a lot. Have a go with some pen and ink. I'd love to hear from you.